Jeong Yu-jeong was a young South Korean woman born in 1999. She grew up with her grandfather in the city of Busan. Her mother abandoned her when she was just 1 year old, and her father left when she was 6. After completing her high school education in 2018, she tried to take the university entrance exam multiple times but was unsuccessful, remaining unemployed after these failed attempts. Jeong was an introverted young woman preparing for civil service exams at the time the murder was committed. According to her inner circle, Jeong had started to lead an increasingly antisocial life since her high school years, spending most of her time alone at home. During this isolated life, Jeong developed an extreme interest in crime-themed television programs and detective novels. She spent most of her free time this way. According to police records, she had done research on the internet about methods of hiding and disposing of corpses and had gathered detailed information on this subject. Jeong's family, concerned about the change in her behavior, had requested a psychological evaluation at one point, but Jeong rejected this help. In the period before the murder, Jeong had no diagnosis of a mental disorder. The police announced that she had not received any prior mental health treatment. However, psychological tests conducted later would reveal that Jeong exhibited psychopathic traits. Jeong allegedly developed an obsessive curiosity about experiencing what a real murder would be like months before the murder. She decided to choose a vulnerable woman around her own age as a target. For this purpose, she signed up for a private tutoring application with a fake profile. On the app, she introduced herself as the mother of a middle school student and started looking for an English teacher. By May 2023, she had contacted exactly 54 different private tutors. The majority were women, and she finally found a 26-year-old English private tutor living in Busan. The victim was a university student giving freelance private lessons and had no prior acquaintance with Jeong. After making an agreement with the victim, Jeong bought a second-hand high school uniform set online, preparing to make herself look younger. On May 26, 2023, Jeong Yu-jeong went to the victim's house in Busan in the late afternoon. When she came to the door wearing a high school student uniform and a mask on her face, the teacher, thanks to her short stature and youthful appearance, thought she was really the student who was going to take the lesson and let her into her home. A short while after entering, Jeong suddenly attacked with a knife she had brought with her. She stabbed the young woman repeatedly. As revealed during the investigation, more than 110 stab wounds were detected. It was determined that Jeong continued to stab the victim obsessively even after she died, even striking non-lethal areas such as the palms of the victim's hands. As a result of this brutal attack, the teacher lost her life at the scene. Immediately after the murder, Jeong left the house, went to her own home, and got a large-sized suitcase. Then, she stopped by a nearby grocery store and bought cleaning supplies such as large garbage bags and bleach. Returning to the victim's house in a short time, Jeong started to dismember the body with the materials she brought with her. Rather than panicking after the murder, her extremely cold-blooded actions were remarkable. Experts examining the security camera footage revealed that Jeong did not show the slightest sign of panic as she went back and forth to get the suitcase from her home to dismember the body. The cold-blooded killer cut off the victim's fingers. By doing so, she aimed to make identification difficult. Additionally, she took off her bloody uniform at the crime scene after the murder and put on the victim's clothes. Thus, she aimed not to attract attention when leaving the house. After Jeong placed the lifeless body into the garbage bags and the black suitcase she brought, her goal was to try to commit a perfect crime by giving the impression that the woman had vanished without a trace. For this reason, she also took the woman's cell phone, ID card, and wallet with her. In this way, she planned to make it look like the woman had disappeared. Towards midnight, Jeong left the house taking the full suitcase and got into a taxi. Acting extremely calmly, even while placing the suitcase in the taxi, Jeong told the taxi driver to go to a place near the Nakdong River in Yongsan. When she arrived at this desolate riverbank, located a little outside of Busan, approximately 20 kilometers to the north, she tried to get rid of the body by taking the suitcase to the wooded area and throwing it away. The hours had passed midnight. It was the early hours of May 27, 2023. As Jeong left the suitcase and departed the area by taxi, she thought she had left no evidence behind. Even though Jeong thought she had planned a perfect crime, Her plan was foiled thanks to the taxi driver's attention. Seeing a young woman carrying a blood-stained suitcase in a wooded area at midnight made the taxi driver uneasy. Suspecting Chun's behavior and the appearance of the bloody suitcase, the driver immediately contacted the police. The police teams, taking action upon the tip-off, searched the area where the suitcase was abandoned and found the body parts inside the suitcase in a short time. Following this terrifying discovery, the police focused on identifying both the victim and the person who left the suitcase. When the security cameras at the crime scene and its surroundings were examined, it was immediately understood that the person who left the suitcase was Jeong Yu-jeong. In the camera recordings, it was seen that Chun first left the woman's house and headed to her own home, then returned to the woman's house with a suitcase in her hand and got into a taxi from there. In addition, it was reflected on the cameras that Chun entered the woman's house in a school uniform and came out in different clothes a while later. These records put Chun directly in the position of a suspect. On the other hand, Chun had also taken the woman's personal belongings, such as her cell phone and ID card, with her. Although there were very few traces found in the woman's home that could be used for identification, it was determined in a short time that the person who fell victim to the murder was the 26-year-old private tutor. The victim's name was not disclosed to the public. Only the information that she was a 26-year-old woman was shared. This kind of information is generally not shared in Korea. Chun, whose identity was deciphered from the suitcase and camera recordings, was caught by the police in Busan on May 27, 2023, exactly one day after the incident. When she was taken into custody, some of the woman's belongings, blood-stained clothes, and a portion of the body parts were seized in her home. Chun initially tried to deny her crime. In her first statement to the police, she claimed that she did not kill the woman, that she was already found dead when she arrived at the house, and that she tried to get rid of the body in a panic. This statement was inconsistent with the evidence at the crime scene and the camera recordings. She then changed her statement and claimed that she accidentally killed the victim during an argument that broke out between them. However, this story was also full of inconsistencies for the police. The team conducting the investigation exposed the contradictions in Chun's narratives one by one. Under the pressure of the evidence, Chun's family also urged her to be honest. Upon these developments, Chun finally confessed the truth. She admitted that she committed the murder by premeditating it. Chun's cold-blooded attitude and her failure to show any signs of remorse, even while changing her statement, surprised even the experts. She was extremely dull and Chun, whose identity was deciphered from the suitcase and camera recordings, was caught by the police in Busan on May 27, 2023, exactly one day after the incident. When she was taken into custody, some of the woman's belongings, blood-stained clothes, and a portion of the body parts were seized in her home. Chun while being taken out of the Busan Police Department and referred to the prosecutor's office, she had a hat on her head and a mask on her face. At this time, she made a statement of regret to the journalists, saying, "I apologize to the victim and her family. I was not in my right mind during the incident." However, the public did not find this apology sincere. This is because the way Chun committed the crime and her subsequent cold-blooded attitude had caused great outrage in society. As the police and the prosecutor's office deepened the investigation, it was revealed that Chun's plan was not limited to a single murder. According to the examined phone and computer records, Chun had invited another young woman to meet around the Nakdong River one day before the murder, that is, on May 25th. However, she could not carry out her planned action because the meeting point was crowded. It was determined that during a similar period, she could not convince a young man she chatted with online to meet with her due to her suspicious behavior. Furthermore, it was identified that Chun had attempted to meet face-to-face with two other different people through the private tutoring application. These people had given up before coming to the meeting, becoming suspicious of Chun's behavior. All these findings showed that Chun had been in search of a victim for a long time and tried to put the murder into action with great premeditation. Chun's internet history also harbored evidence of these plans. It was revealed that she made queries in the search engine such as how to kill, how to dispose of a corpse. Library records showed that most of the books she borrowed in recent months were about serial killers and crime cases. Following the completion of the police investigation, Chun was referred to the judicial process as an arrested defendant in June 2023. The prosecutor's office prepared an indictment against Chun on charges of intentional homicide, disrespecting a corpse, and abandoning a corpse. On June 21, 2023, it was decided that Chun would be tried under arrest, and her file was transferred to the court. The case was heard at the Busan District Court, and the first hearing was held on July 14, 2023. During the trial, Chun resorted to a mental health defense in order to mitigate the nature of the act she committed. Her lawyers claimed that Chun was suffering from a psychological disorder, seeing hallucinations, and experiencing mental depression at the time she committed the crime. Chun also expressed her regret during the hearings and requested that her sentence be reduced. The young woman even stated that the anger she felt towards her family and the failures in her life played a major role in her committing the murder, using expressions like, "I actually wanted to die with the victim and be reborn in a family with parents in my next life." Such words aimed to create the image that Chun was in a state of depression and despair. As a matter of fact, according to what was expressed in court, Chun had practically given a forewarning during a phone conversation with her father a few days before the murder attempt, saying that she would do something big soon and that her father would not be able to bear its consequences. This information was of a nature supporting that Chun's action was planned. Additionally, during the trial, the prosecutor's office revealed that Chun had even searched the internet for the topic of parricide before the murder. This situation indicated that Chun might have directed an anger towards her family onto the victim. Throughout the trial, the prosecution office demanded the heaviest penalty by emphasizing that Chun's action was an extremely premeditated and cold-bloodedly executed atrocity. Although the death penalty theoretically exists in South Korean law, it has not been executed since 1997. The prosecutors stated that Chun's case deserved one of these exceptional punishments and demanded the death penalty. The evidence that emerged during the trial clearly showed that Chun was of sound mind and committed the crime by planning it. Indeed, the court in Busan did not accept the mentally unstable defense put forward by Chun. The court panel ruled that Chun was not under the influence of any mental or physical disorder during the crime, but on the contrary, acted highly planned and conscious. Chun's contradictory statements during the hearings and her efforts to cover up the crime also supported this assessment. On November 24, 2023, the Busan District Court announced its verdict. The court sentenced Chun to life imprisonment for the crimes of intentional homicide and dismembering and concealing the corpse of the person she killed. At the verdict hearing, the judge emphasized that the crime committed by the defendant was a premeditated action, executed in cold blood, and created deep fear in society, stating that a heavy penalty was inevitable. The court ruled that Chun's apologies and request for mitigation were not sincere, and that this brutal murder could not be mitigated by any excuse. In addition to the given life imprisonment sentence, evaluating that she could continue to pose a threat to society if Chun were to be released from prison on parole, it was also decided that she would wear an electronic ankle monitor for 30 years. The rule that a convict cannot apply for parole without staying in prison for at least 20 years will also apply to Chun. Finding the life imprisonment sentence insufficient, the prosecutors appealed to a higher court to have the sentence converted to the death penalty. Chun's lawyers, on the other hand, argued that the life sentence was too high and demanded a reduction in the sentence. In March 2024, the Court of Appeals rejected the prosecution's request for the death penalty. The prosecution then took the case to the Supreme Court, the final authority. The Supreme Court reviewed the case again in May 2024, and Chun's life imprisonment sentence was finalized. Chun's profile and motivation also became a subject of evaluation in the fields of psychology and sociology in South Korea. Experts particularly drew attention to the negative consequences of the younger generation's increasing feelings of loneliness, social isolation, and immersion in the virtual world. Chun shutting herself in the house for nearly 5 years after high school and staying away from real human relationships, immersing herself in dark crime stories during this process, was interpreted as possibly having led to a state of mind that distorted her perception of reality. Indeed, the words Chun expressed in her statement, "What I saw on TV and in books caught my curiosity. I wanted to try it too," were shown as an example of the dangers of excessive exposure to fiction. As a result, the murder committed by Jeong Yu-jeong did not remain merely a single criminal case. It showed its impact in a wide area, from legal sanctions to media discourse, from the feeling of social trust to psychological analyses. Chun, who killed an innocent person she never knew simply because she was curious about what she would feel, represents an unusual criminal profile in the history of South Korea. As an audience, we also watch, love, and tell these kinds of stories. But it is possible for a person who has social isolation like Chun, and who also has a bit of family drama, to be influenced by such events. We do not make these so that people get influenced, take an example from them, or be inspired by them. In fact, I am trying to show with these videos what terrible consequences these bring about. On the one hand, I am very curious about this situation myself. How can people be driven to these points? In every case I research, I learn a brand new reality. For example, in this Jeong Yu-jeong case, I learned something completely different. I would like to see your thoughts on this topic under the video as well. We have come to the end of this video. See you in the next one. Take very good care of yourselves.